What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so recently on All the Smoke podcast, Steven Jackson, uh, Steven Jackson, um, what's the other guy name? Man, he used to play with the Lakers and the Kings. Matt Barnes and some of the other guys on there. They were talking about a lot of these players today who, of course, now have podcasts, and they're talking about how nobody in the NBA has both a very successful podcast and is a complete all around great player. Either way, one thing is suffering. You know what I'm saying? One thing is suffering. Either you have a great podcast and as a basketball player, you're mediocre or your game is suffering, or you're a great player and your podcast is trash. And this is, matter of fact, this is what Steven Jackson had to say. On top of that, he name dropped in a bad way Draymond Green.
Keep it funky. Half the players that's playing that got past, they can't do it.
Yeah.
I ain't seen nobody be successful doing it yet. I mean, I'm talking about they successful in the media space. I'm talking about on the court and podcast. Nobody's been successful on both.
Yeah.
Name one.
Draymond.
Yeah, Draymond. But his role is super limited to what he got to do, bro. He's not like the guy on the team, like the go-to guy, the star. He just float around and do the dirty work.
You starting shit.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I'm just saying, like, Paul.
PG.
He got a great podcast.
He had to put it down for a
Last
minute,
couple
though.
years, he had to put the podcast down.
I think that's really because of his injuries, bro. And he I'm not going to say he weak
But
mentally.
regardless of what it is, it's hard to do both, bro.
Yeah.
It's hard.
But
It's
if
hard.
if I got a fire show and you step on my ankle because you're trying to guard me all
But
hard,
you
that ain't my
also think
fault.
too. I mean, in the social media era, when you're killing your podcast, but they paying you a whole bunch of money, you're not killing on the court.
Yeah,
That's a whole
you
new
can't do
world,
it,
bro.
bro. You can't do it.
Got to keep the first thing
Basketball,
first.
Y'all, and I'm gonna listen to y'all. Y'all did it for real. I'm just saying, basketball is first, but y'all, I can't give y'all an hour of who I am.
What's required? If you're gonna have this podcast, your ass better be performing on that court.
Yeah.
Point blank.
Okay.
I
That's
would,
how everybody
agree
gonna
with
look
that.
at it.
Nah, I agree with
especially if I was in Minnesota.
Steven Jackson ain't telling no lies. I agree with him 1,000,000%. When you look at the people who have the most successful podcasts in basketball, it's people who are retired. You know what I'm saying? Like Steven Jackson, like Matt Barnes, so they can fully commit to their podcast. Another thing is the Truth podcast with Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce. They're both retired. Or they're podcasts with people who are in the media. You know what I'm saying? Sports media. Those who are active players, who are podcasters, something suffers. We've seen that with, Paul George. Last year, at one point in time, Paul George had more podcast episodes than he did field goals made during the regular season. And yeah, if you're getting paid $50 million a year, like Paul George is getting paid with the Sixers, bro, how can you get on there and play like absolute shit? You go out there and shoot 1 for 7, and you're supposed to be the second or third option, and then you go out there and do a podcast and you laugh and yucking it up. It don't look good, right? And then with Draymond Green, Steven Jackson's 100% correct again. First of all, Draymond podcast to me was never really that good. It's just the fact that he was probably the first major player to have a podcast, and for a little while he got some juice behind that. But even then, that dried up with the other podcasts that was out there that were just better than his, And even with that, like he said, Draymond Green's game is limited. He's not really a great player to me. He's not. I know some people be like, well, what about Mind the Game with LeBron James? Well, LeBron James is a great player. He just doesn't have a great podcast. He doesn't. You notice that his podcast has devolved from them trying to break down games to all of a sudden now his podcast, when he films episodes, because I haven't seen any episodes of his podcast in weeks. Why? Because the season get ready to gear up. So it's easy for him to do a podcast when the season's winding down or in the off season. But, you know, when the NBA season is upon us, it takes a back seat. Also, his podcast was devolving into really just another vehicle to toot his own horn. So, yeah, I agree with that 100% when it comes to Steven Jackson, man. You can't do both. You gotta be able to commit 100% to one or the other. And I'm talking about an NBA regular season. And let me clarify something. I'm not saying that somebody that plays in the NBA can't on occasion do a podcast or semi-regularly do a podcast and it'd be okay. I'm talking about somebody that is a full-time podcaster, like almost daily or bi-weekly or weekly, and the production is top-notch. The research is immaculate. I'm talking about the time and effort it takes to do a real good, consistent A-list podcast. That's what I'm talking about. It's next to impossible to be a professional basketball player and playing at your absolute peak and being a great podcaster. It's almost impossible. You know, so yeah, I agree with that, man. And, you know, I'm glad somebody else put out, you know, their opinion that Draymond Green is a fake Hall of Famer. He's not a Hall of Famer, man. He's a media creation, just like his boy. Well, his boy is a Hall of Famer, but even him, he's a media created GOAT candidate. Draymond is a media created fake Hall of Famer with a terrible, stinking ass podcast. Anyway, that's all I got to say about it. Tell me what you guys think.